Hi guys, I want to talk to you a minute about fear. There is so much fear going on right now with the coronavirus and different things happening in the political world and in the markets and in our communities. And so it just seems everything around us is creating this horrible feeling of anxiety and fear. And I just want to talk about fear for a second because it can be absolutely debilitating. So as most of you guys know, my little guy, not little guys, 5'11", he has a generalized anxiety disorder. So he's really struggling at school right now to concentrate. And he's struggling because he goes onto these group chats, and then because everyone has a sense of fear, it all ratchets up and it gets worse and worse and worse. And for someone like him who struggles with different types of, I don't really want to call them mental illnesses because he's not ill. It's just the recipe card in his head dictates that anxiety and fear makes it difficult for him to concentrate. So he's basically spending his days either wandering the halls or his head in his desk, and it's a really, really tough thing. So in one way, shape, or form, it's kind of happening to all of us. We're wandering around a little bit dazed. We're wandering around in our heads, imagining these terrible situations. When we read or we hear or we see something about, let's say, what's happening in Italy, immediately, because we can't help ourselves, we're like, what if it happens here? What if that happens to me? What if I lose my job? What if I can't go to work? Right? So there's all these what ifs. And if you let them grow enough, it takes over. And what that does is it means we can't function like we should right now. There are people that I know who have lost business because things get canceled, contracts get canceled, and that's tough. And you can then death spiral further by worrying about the clients that you do have and saying, well, what if I lose them? And then you go into panic mode, and then your panic breeds their panic, and then you lose more clients. It's a terrible cycle. What you can do, so there's two things I'd like to suggest. One is because I've been around anxiety for about 30 years, and it's a strategy that actually really helps. Another thing is more business orientated. So the first thing is how to stop an anxious death cycle. So anxiety is actually under the same umbrella as OCD. So anxiety is just like a looping thought, right? What if I get sick? 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 Or like whatever the thought is. That's just unfortunately the most common thought right now. What if I get it? In order to counteract that looping thought, so in normal times, in non-anxious times, we're like, what if I get sick? Chances are slim. I'm fine. Done. But right now, a lot of people are looping. The way that you overcome that is by literally thinking the opposite. But there's a trick. You can't say, I'm not going to get sick, because your brain simply hears, you're going to get sick. The loop continues. You need to say something like, I'm perfectly healthy, perfectly healthy, perfectly healthy, perfectly healthy. And as you think that thought, it counteracts the loop, slows it down, and allows it to close. And this might be difficult. So here's a strategy for those who find that really difficult, because the anxious voice in our head can be really, really loud. So what I like to tell people to do in those situations when trying to counteract it is too difficult to do by yourself, like in your head, write it down, right? Grab a sticky note, write the phrase or the words on that sticky note and read it over and over and over and over. And when you tell your brain this, you are feeding it the right information. You're feeding it how you want to think. And your brain is going to fight you because A, it's desperate. B, we're built for the fight, the fight or flight, and we're all in flight mode right now. And that is a really strong impulse. And so by writing it down on a sticky note or a piece of paper or on your phone, have a alarm go off every 15 minutes to remind you to think that way. What you do is you change the belief system that you're operating on, and again, that allows the loop to close. So that's one thing you can do. This works for people who have anxiety. My ex has acute anxiety disorder, which is very specific around one key thing. My son has generalized anxiety disorder, so it kind of hops and skips over everything from bees to thunderstorms to the virus. So please, if you are struggling with fear, and you don't know how to stop it, and it's making your life difficult, it's causing your relationships to be strained, it's causing you to zone out at work, it's causing you to lose clients or to fear losing clients, it's not worth it, right? You can deal with the situation as it comes. But if you fear a situation enough, you could make yourself sick, not with the virus, but you're just going to make yourself ill because our bodies respond to our brains. So don't make this worse for yourself. The second thing I'd like to suggest to you is regarding your business. A lot of people that I talk to right now are looking at their plans for 2020. So they're setting their goals, they're setting their plans, and so on. And what a lot of people do is they set an income goal and then they spend the entire year super stressed out about whether or not they're going to hit that goal. Instead, focus on activity goals. What can you control? So in this world where everything seems out of control, out of our hands, different countries are affecting us when before they were never even in our stream of consciousness in any great way anyway. Focus on what is immediately within your control. What actions can you take right now that if you do those consistently and you concentrate on those goals will bring in new business or allow you to manage your career, right? So, for people who run their own businesses, what are the ways that have allowed you to grow your business in the past that have been really successful? Do those things. Put them in your planner. Put them in your notes or your to-do list, and focus on those things because that is what you can control. You can't control if a client leaves. You can't control the economy. My husband works in financial services. He is not having a good day. He can't control the markets. What he can control, what we can all control, is what we do in these moments to allow us to continue to move our businesses forward, to offer advice, to be the go-to person of reason. There's a ton of misinformation out there. You can be the one to not continue the panic, but to allow people to come to you to say, what do I do? And you can say, well, this is what's happening. And honestly, for most of us, it's do nothing. And if there is some sort of health thing that needs to be done, well, then you just do it, right? And when you can do those two things of trying to stop the endless loop of fear and you focus on the things that you can control, a lot of at least the panic that you feel will go away. And so in the environment we're in right now, it is really, really difficult to try to ignore the clamor, ignore the noise, and to protect ourselves from other people's panic. But do not let someone else's fear, whether it's the media or people you're talking to, the radio, TV, whatever, don't let someone else's fear become your own. Ask yourself, is this information going to make me more or less anxious? Is it information I need to take on because I need to maybe modify what I'm doing? Because sometimes that is what we need to do, right? And but it's just general health. Like washing our hands has always been a good idea. So yay, it's now just a little bit more important than ever. I hope everyone continues to keep washing their hands. But see, that's a little thing you can do. You can wash your hands. That's how you take preventative measures so that you are doing something actively to prevent something that you potentially could fear. So I really hope that you have found this to be helpful. I do help people with fear a lot. There's a lot of it out there. Heck, half of my book here, Think Again, which is on Amazon, coming soon to Indigo. Part of this book the entire book is about self-sabotage. And one of the ways we sabotage ourselves is allowing our fears to take over and run our lives and own the day and own our minds. And so you have to make a decision. You have to make a choice. Is this something that you're going to allow happen to you? Or are you going to try to come against it? And there are people who struggle more with anxiety than others. And I know that. And I have helped my son since he was 3. He's now 14 years old. Strategies I gave you absolutely work. If you want to reach out to me, please do. If you're struggling with fear and you don't want to comment publicly, by all means, please send me a direct message. Be happy to hop on the phone with you, give you a few more strategies if the one that I gave you just didn't make sense. Stay safe, everybody. Remain as anxiety-free as you possibly can. Focus on the things you can control about. And if you do find yourself looping into those thoughts, you know how to fix it. It works every single time. Take care, guys.